running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of End of a Survivor. So let's just get started. You know, I like to start with my trigger warning. So y'all know when it's up out here. You're gonna hear the motorcycles. Puerto Vida, Costa Rica, right? So this episode of Inside Services of a Survivor contains discussions of addiction, drug use, bipolar and mental health struggles, trauma, narcissistic abuse, and other sensitive topics. So viewer discretion is advised. If you or someone you know may be affected by these topics, please just pause, take care of yourself, walk away, turn it off. Do what you need to do to seek the support you need, because I'm not a medical professional. I can give you advice, but my advice is just that. It's just advice. So take care of you first, always first and foremost, okay? So as you all know, I started this podcast because I know what it's like to survive things that feel like they were meant to break you. And I know what it's like to realize that surviving isn't just the same as living. Like, living is having a life that makes you happy, going out, doing whatever it does to make you feel some type of a sense of joy. Surviving is just getting by. And that's not the same thing. And I also know healing isn't easy. It is not. It isn't easy in any shape, form, or fashion, but it's possible and it's powerful. So this show is for anyone who's ever felt like they were unseen or unheard or underestimated or overlooked or any of the unders, It's for anyone who's been told to shut up, stay quiet, that what they've been through really doesn't mean shit, to put a mask on, fake, and make everyone happy to be quiet so people can be comfortable. No, to hell with that. We don't do that here. And this for anyone who's ready to say, I survived, I'm still here, and my story matters. Here we dive into real and raw experiences of life's toughest battles. We explore how people turn trauma into strength, silence into a voice, and pain into purpose. We talk about resilience, healing, community, and ways we can reclaim ourselves after hardship. Because the truth is that no one else should have to heal alone. No one. And no survivor should today is the day. You guys know I'm already authentic. I'm not gonna hide who I really am. But no survivor should feel invisible. So my hope for this podcast and for this community that I want to build is that we all have a place where we can be honest and we can have courage, a space where people can connect, reflect, and find strength in each other's stories, where healing isn't just private. It's not a private journey, but it's something that we can share, celebrate, and support each other through. Because every survivor has wisdom to share, every story has value, and every voice matters. I want you to walk away from this show feeling seen. I want you to feel understood. And I want to remind you that your experiences do not define you, that your growth does. This community was built on truth, resilience, and hope. We rise, we heal, and we survive together. And that's why I'm really, really honored to welcome my next guest, Miss Jem Amar. She is a woman whose story is raw, it's real, and it's profoundly, profoundly inspiring. She grew up, with an undiagnosed disorder. She had to go through life, what she would describe as chaotic. And by the time she was 17, she had to deal with things that no child should ever have to deal with, dropping out of high school, being in toxic relationships that would last almost a decade. Oh, actually over a decade, But, she changed everything. She made the courageous decision to stop doing all of the things that was causing her to stay in a place of silence and stuck in a place of, I can't think of it, but she made the decision to stop being toxic to herself. She endured a long-term relationship and she left that town and all of that behind, and she started a life and she just didn't stop surviving. She began learning how to truly thrive. So fast forward, here she is here tonight with a new company, an underground hip hop blog that gained a lot of traction. I mean, like, this girl is something else. We've been talking for like 2 weeks, and it's like she's my best friend already, you guys. And through interviewing nearly 100 independent rappers. She saw firsthand how mental health struggles go often unspoken in communities of color, especially for men who are expected to suffer in silence. So she uses her platform, she fundraises, and she brings awareness surrounding mental health. And she continues to check in on many of those men today. She is such a wonderful person. So I would please like to bring my next guest, Miss Jennifer Amar, to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, Miss Jim? I called you Jennifer. Her name is Jim.
It's okay.
Jim. I told you it's one of those blonde days, you guys. Don't let me
That's
mess your name up, baby. You have a beautiful. I love that name, Jem Amar. You know, I'm a Gemini, and I know you spell Jim with a J, not a G, but it's still
yeah,
the same. You're Jim. Jim is Jim.
yeah. It's critical, but starting like back in my teen years, everybody started calling me Gem, like the cartoon, because I had like
Oh,
magenta hair, and so yeah, so everybody called me Gem.
oh, nice. I love it. I love it. So,
Yeah.
Miss Jim, can you share what life was like growing up with undiagnosed disorder? I didn't want to tell them what your disorder was. I'm gonna let you kind of talk about that. How did that affect you growing up with an undiagnosed disorder, and how did that shape your teenage years?
Well, I always knew that there was something different about me. I wasn't like my girlfriends. I mean, I hung out with some pretty tough chicks because growing up, being bipolar and not knowing it, I was pretty aggressive. I fought a lot. I also grew up in a suburb of Boston, and I fought a lot. So I, you know, I didn't know how to put a name to it. And my parents were not really around, so nobody really noticed that, I lived with my mom, but she was never really around. And so growing up, I was just different, you know. And what it then eventually ended up leading to was me self medicating. I met all the wrong people. My family moved to a small fishing community on the North Shore in Massachusetts, and it was the culture shock was crazy because I came from Boston, and I ended up meeting just the wrong people, the wrong man, the wrong friends, and I spent over a decade in, this blur. It's all just a blur now, you know. And then when I got sober, I finally went to see a doctor, and they diagnosed me. And when I told my mother, she said, "Oh, we all thought you were just a bitch." You know? So
Oh my lord, no!
nobody had any clue, like, except me, that I was different from everybody else, you know?
Wow. Your mom sounds like a Jim. I'll say that.
Right. She's
So you
great
do.
now, but back
She's great
then,
now. Yeah, yeah. We have our own growing up to do, and you know,
right.
10 years
Yep.
from then, 10 years from now, we're not going to be who we are today. So,
Right. Yep.
so you described a period in your life as heroin half coma. I've never heard that term before. Heroin half coma. What was
Yep.
it like living through that, and what finally made you decide to change that in 2012? I think that's, yeah, 2012 is when
Yep.
you said that you said I can't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah. The heroin half coma thing, it's eventually the drug that I landed on for probably about 5 years after partying on whatever drug I could get my hands on, was heroin. And I was a IV user. And the thing is, though, I call it a half coma because I was a very high functioning addict. I was the manager at a store. I had an apartment, but I was high all the time. And when I got home, it was like I was out, I was like high, like I didn't know where I was. So it's really difficult for me to explain how I lived through it because it's a huge blur. My whole, like, I can't put things together chronologically, like where I worked or like when this happened, because it's just all mixed together in this one miserable existence that I was living, you know? So it's hard for me to say, but in 2012, my boyfriend at the time came home with Molly. This is like, I was like a raver in the 90s, the late 90s. So like this is when Molly was like first introduced as like the pure MDMA or whatever. And so I swallowed it like he told me to, because I did like everything that he told me to. And I was violently ill for hours. I've never been that sick before in my life. And I went to bed and I woke up a couple hours later and I was like bleeding from, like my lady, whatever, no more TMI, but I went to the emergency room because I was like, oh my God, what is going on? You know? And it turns out that I was 6 weeks pregnant. And the Molly obviously didn't agree with that. And I had a miscarriage. So that was on a Friday. And I spent the weekend with my boyfriend. And then on Monday, I packed my stuff and I left town. And I left him, I left my entire family, I left all my friends, and decided to get sober.
Wow, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but sometimes that's what we call our aha moments,
Right?
But that was a really aggressive aha moment, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. I mean, everyone say we go through things to teach us a lesson or whatever the case is, but some of those lessons are harder than others. It's not like I
Right.
stubbed my toe. So,
Exactly.
it's definitely shows your strength that you were able to use that as a way to make you grow instead of, because some people could have used that to break them, like, oh my God, and make it worse. So
Right.
kudos to you. Kudos to
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, I mean,
So, mhm.
ultimately, that was the best thing that could have possibly ever happened to me, because if I
Yeah.
had a kid with him, I would have been stuck in, that town, and I never would have
Yes.
gotten to it, probably.
Oh, yes. I understand having kids by the wrong person is
Right.
never fun. Never fun. So
Right.
definitely dodge the bullet.
Yeah, for sure.
So sobriety comes with a lot of challenges. Like, how did you navigate quitting drugs and alcohol? And she did this cold turkey, you guys. That's what we didn't put in there. She did it cold turkey. So breaking up with your long-term partner, deciding I'm not going to do any of these drugs, and starting
Hmm.
over in a new town, new job, new people, everything. Like, how did you do that? Like, what challenges did you have to
It
face going through that?
I didn't do it well at first. At first I moved in with a roommate that I didn't know, and I really wasn't very fond of her. But that was like the smallest of my problems, because when I first moved in with her, I was sick because I was coming off of heroin, and I was still working full time and just trying to like pretend that I wasn't like dying on the inside. And so she didn't like that, of course, because I mean, who would, But I was like starting a new chapter of my life. Unfortunately, it started in her apartment, you know. But I just honestly, like, I didn't get sober because I wanted to. You know what I mean? I didn't leave him because I wanted to. They were things that I had to do in order for me to have any semblance of a normal life for the rest of my life. I was already in my 30s, you know? So, like I said, it didn't go well. I cried a lot. Like, when I wasn't at work, I was home crying, like listening to sad music, like Portishead, and like bawling my eyes out. So, but eventually, I found the strength somehow. So I made it through. And now I look back and it was so worth it. So,
Badass. That's just badass. You didn't realize then. And that is like the perfect example of not knowing how much of a badass you are, because you're so in the middle of the struggle that you don't realize like you were a badass. That's the only thing I can say of how you got through it, was that you had you didn't have anyone. So, and
mm-mm.
then we fast forward to 2019 and you started your company. Is it Never Nar? Never
It's
Nair?
never near.
Never
Yes.
Nair. So fast forward, you go through all of this, you get yourself together, and then you decide I'm going to create a company in 2019. What inspired you to create an underground hip hop blog, and how did it evolve into a platform for you to about talk for mental health?
Well, I had started another company, and it was called Inspinair, which was like inspiration and millionaire. You know what I mean? And I was designing clothes on like print on demand way before people started doing it all the time. And I used my friend's graffiti art as the designs, and I loved it. It was my baby. I did it for like 2 years, but then Walmart started making like the same kind of stuff that I was making, and I was like, I can't sell these for what I need to sell them for because Walmart's selling them for $10, you know. So after a while, it was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. So then I was reading a lot of books about like side hustles and like that sort of thing. And, I kept reading that if you started a blog, you can monetize it and you can make money. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty simple. I like to write, but I had no idea what I was going to write about. I just started it. And originally, I interviewed a couple of my graffiti artist friends and like featured their art and stuff. But when I was looking through, like, back when hashtags meant something on Instagram, I was like looking through hashtags looking for graffiti artists, and I kept coming across all these amazing indie rappers that nobody knew who they were. So it dawned on me that I should be giving these guys the credit that they're not getting, because I'm a hip hop head forever. You know what I mean? And I was like, these guys are like amazing lyricists and they're just like incredible and nobody's hearing them. So the new byline for Never Near was shining light on the talent in the shadows. And I actually, over the 5 years, I interviewed almost 400 people. So it was pretty amazing. And by the end, I started to interview celebs too. Like, so that was like pretty cool. And I did all that on my own. Nobody like introduced me to these people. But I digress. So it turned into this mental health platform because all of a sudden in like 2023, 2024, the blog started showing up on all these like top 10 lists, like top 10 hip hop blogs of like 2023 and stuff. And I was like, what? That many people are reading the blog? So I realized, because of my own mental health struggles, but also because of what I was learning about these men, that it was my responsibility to use that platform to bring awareness to the mental health stigma, because so many people were reading my stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I had to be like, look at this. This is another thing we need to talk about. So
Recently started reading your stuff, and man, I understand. Like, you go deep, and it's really something that's helpful to me. And just the two or three that I've read so far, it's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, and it's helping me learn to process some of the things that I'm dealing with, because I have mental health issues that I struggle with as well. So I understand, and yes, you have very much paved the way for mental health and struggles, and I love it, and I thank you, because not a lot of us are willing to open up about certain topics, and mental health is one of them.
right.
So yeah, you mentioned that your own family members suffered in silence due to stigma. How did that personal experience influence the way you approach your work with Never Near?
Well, I come from a multi-race family. My dad's Puerto Rican, my sister's African American, and all her kids are Dominican. And she's got 3 boys now that are in their 30s, I guess, late 20s, early 30s. And she has her other side of the family, her father and her other sisters and stuff. And I guess that because my mother wasn't around, so I guess they more raised her than my mother did. So she grew up with the same kind of conditioning, that generational conditioning that affects the communities of color with the mental health stigma. And her sons were passed on that stigma as well, that same way of looking at things. And they've been through, especially my youngest nephew has been through a lot. And I remember about 4 years ago, he approached me asking me if I would help him get into therapy. And I was like, absolutely. Say the word and we'll do it. And my sister said no. And, so that made me realize just how deep that conditioning is, because what he went through was pretty heavy. So you would think that anybody would be like, yes. But so he's still struggling with it, and that was years ago. And so that made me, with a lot of the guys from Never Near, the rappers, like I became really good friends with them. Like what I mean, quite a few of them. And I would notice that, in passing, they would say things that were like, wait, are you okay? Like you're just gonna like glaze over that? And it just wasn't their thing to talk about it. And having, watched my nephews grow up, I knew like don't push it, and just let them, all I could do was let them know that when they were ready to talk about it, talk to me about it. I'm here. So that's like how I approach that with them.
Yeah, no, I understand. And in the African American community, it's like pray about it, take it to God, but don't take it to the therapist. Keep the fuck out your business. So I
Right.
100% understand, and it's not healthy. I'm as the black woman, I'm going to say that it is not healthy. And I did go to therapy. Now, did therapy work for me? No, but coaching did, which to me is still a form of therapy. To me, um,
Yeah.
I still needed to seek help, and it wasn't until I sought help. You know how many people like have tried to commit suicide in our community because of them not being, or have. I have a 14-year-old niece who hung herself because she
Wow.
wasn't getting the. I mean, and it wasn't because her mom didn't want her to. I mean, it was because of the stigma that's placed on us. So
Right.
yes, it's really 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 bad. It's really bad, and I'm glad that you are shining a light on something that a lot of people are still a little ashamed to talk about, because if we don't talk about it, we're never gonna heal, we're never gonna grow as a community. So I do appreciate you being the voice for some of us who just to shut the hell up. You better not. You better keep it in your house. So thank you so much. Um, so now you do shadow work,
Yep.
and as a shadow work, as shadow work and an inner child healing guide, how do you use that journey of your inner healing to prepare you to help others? Like you guys, I'm going to be working with her. I'm excited. Just
I
put
know
that
that's
out
super exciting. I basically I used the techniques that I teach my clients to help myself. And I'm not saying, I mean, it's been like 10 years, that I've been working on these things, and I'm not healed. You don't heal, it doesn't go away, but you learn to cope in better ways with things instead of using drugs or gambling or sex addiction or all of those things that manifest when you don't take care of your trauma, you know? And so I am self taught. I taught myself everything I know about, inner child healing and shadow work. And I'm actually going to Maharishi University. I'll be starting that soon. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to add that to whatever else I got going on. But, I just wanted to be like, I want to learn techniques that I don't know so that I can share them with other people. And it's just really important to me that people can feel what it feels like to work through trauma, you know?
Yes, yes. So for those of us who are unfamiliar with the shadow work, how does it help clients overcome effects of abuse and like narcissistic abuse, or any type of trauma, not even just abuse, any type of trauma
Yeah.
that they're dealing with? How does shadow work help heal with the
Well,
healing journey?
it's shadow work is, it was founded basically by Carl Jung, who was a psychoanalyst. And so the techniques are based loosely in, I want to say like official, like, you know what I mean? But it's more about your trauma being part of you that's like your shadow self. And the shadow self holds on to things like personality traits that growing up you might have learned or been conditioned to learn were personality traits that you really shouldn't show other people. Like aggression or jealousy or, those kind of things. So those are sometimes when you're conditioned like that, you hide those away from society and they go into your subconscious to what Carl Jung would say would be your shadow self. But it's not necessarily just bad things. Like, yeah, aggression, too much aggression, not a good thing. But if you're a kid and your family's telling you you're too aggressive and then you grow up to be a people pleaser, because you hid that part of yourself away, then you've got all this trauma that needs to be worked through. You probably have a hard time setting personal boundaries that are successful because of your trauma. And maybe a little bit of aggression would help you to be able to say no, would help you be able to hold on to your boundaries. So maybe aggression is not really a bad thing for you. So what I do is I guide them through, worksheets that I've created, or guided meditations that I record, and journaling prompts, so that they can meet their shadow self and, start to, you don't meet them with like the idea that I'm going to get rid of these traits. It's like, I'm going to go in with self-compassion and teach myself how to cope and how to integrate these traits into myself so that I can be a whole person again. You know?
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it. I'm excited to get started with you. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's exciting because that's
I
going to be
mean,
awesome.
I'm all for healing, and as you said, we're never fully, we just learn how to deal with things. So any
Mhm.
opportunity that I have to add to that healing journey, I'm going to be excited because I still have my shitty days. Today was a
Right.
shitty day, guys.
That's a bummer.
It's okay. It's okay. You know why? Because I can still smile. As long as I can say, I'm here, I'm over it, I deal with it. To me, it's my shitty days don't kill me. There was times we thought our shitty days were going to kill us, and now that I know that that's not going to happen, I just reset myself through my little grounding techniques, a couple of breaths, maybe a walk out in that beautiful nature that I live in so much,
I
and
know. That's going to
so I'm
be
learning little grounding techniques, and that's what my journey is teaching me. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So your core message is community is power against this mental health stigma. Can you explain why community is such a crucial uh, piece of this puzzle? Why is it so important in this fight?
Right. Well, I mean, anybody that has mental health struggles, it's not necessarily like community, like, a big community, like a bunch of people. It could just be your community. Like for me, like my community is me, my mother, and my older sister. That's my community. But community is so important because you need people to lean on. Nobody can do this alone. And I know that because when I first started getting sober, I tried really hard to do this on my own. And it was, that's how I came across shadow work in the first place, because I researched and researched. I was like, there's no way that there's nothing that can make me feel better. But community is what is the most important thing, is to have that backup. And especially in communities of color, because in order for us to bring awareness to this, everybody needs to rally and talk about it, you know? And that's why
Yes,
community is so important, because especially for the younger generations, if we can like all talk about this and get it out there, I mean, obviously like it's not realistic to think everyone's going to talk about it, but the more we talk about it, people are going to start to listen, you know? And that community that we could put together, could make a difference. And I just think that
yes,
it's just so important. It's like community, like as medicine, you know?
yes, yes. And that's why I did that summit thing, because no one ever talks about that. And I'm gonna do that every year. Every year. So be ready for me to ask you every year, Jim, hey, I have another one of these mental health summits. Are you down? You ready?
Yeah.
So I mean, because that's the only way we're going to grow, is if putting that word out there and showing that we're not embarrassed, or we're not ashamed to talk about our mental health struggles, and that it is okay. Give them space to
Yep.
see that it's okay. So I love this community that you're putting together. I think it's beautiful. I really do.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So looking back at your life, What are the lessons you're most proud of that you turned into actions?
Well, I would have to start with, I guess the biggest lesson that I ever learned, I learned when I was about 10 years old, when I finally decided, it wasn't even really a decision, it was just something that kind of happened spontaneously, but I stood up to my father, who was standing in front of me with his belt, and what I said to him apparently resonated or like made it through the drunk fog or whatever, because he left me alone and he left my brother alone, which was why I did it, because my brother's much younger than me and I was defending him. And in that moment, I realized how powerful words can be, you know? And so that always stuck with me. And then, having the miscarriage and having taken the steps that I took to, instead of just getting higher and like really spiraling and ruining my life, I have done things in my life that you never would have been able to tell me that I was going to do these things when I was high, you know? So that, I guess, those two moments in my life really stand out. I'm sorry, can you hear my dog? Because she's being a brat.
That's okay. Can you hear my kids knocking on the door because they're brats all the time? Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Listen, she's cute. I like it. We're
Yeah.
authentic, you guys. I told you, we're real. So her puppy want to cry. Let her puppy cry.
She's such a brat. She's 17. So
Oh,
when she
that's
wants
a
her way,
grown woman. That's a grown woman.
yeah, I've had her for 16 years.
Oh,
Um,
that's your
she-
child.
yeah. Yep.
Does she want to say hi? She can say hi if you want her to say hi. It's okay.
You want to say hi, you little brat?
She's
Oh,
a part of the community. She doesn't. That's okay.
her and
Us women can be moody.
she had a brother, Gizmo, and he passed away about 4 months ago.
Oh
But
no.
they were the mascots for Never Nair back when I was running Never Nair. I used to make ads
Oh.
in the ads, and yeah, so that was wicked cute. So, but she's being just a little distracting.
It's okay. She just needs some love. She misses her brother.
Yeah.
So, what motivates you to continue your work with clients in your community? Like what because I know that it's not easy. That a lot of people see us and like I'm smiling, but I just like I said, I had a shitty day today. You'll never know because I can put this smile on like that. We definitely know how to wear the mask.
Yeah.
So what motivates you to keep going on the shitty days?
Honestly, I've thought about this many times, because you have to have your why. You have
Yes.
to have your reason to get up and do stuff when you have a cozy warm bed and I have a fake rabbit fur blanket, and sometimes I don't want to get out of that bed. Sometimes I'm having a shitty day, but my why, I guess, is honestly, like, if you ask anybody that knows me, they will tell you I am not a people person. I'm super antisocial, and I have been my whole entire life. And I have a soft spot, for the underdog. And when you are first starting your healing journey, like say you just got out of that relationship, or you just finally realize that you want to be sober, or like whatever the step was that put you on that path, you are the underdog, and the harder you work at it, the stronger you become, and your story becomes a hero story, and you're your own hero, and I love that. I want people to feel that. I want people that felt hopeless and lonely, and I want them to realize that it sounds kind of weird, but you're your own hero. Mariah Carey had it right all along. you know?
Right, right. That's beautiful. That sounds beautiful. I love that. I mean, if you don't the underdog, who will? It's always and the underdog is always the one that come. They always come out on top. So we're gonna
Right.
root for the underdog and help build that community up. I love it. I love it. So for listeners who are struggling with mental health or coming out of toxic situations, what is your final message of hope that you would like to leave with them so that they'll know that they're not alone and that they can it is possible?
Well, I would have to say that, the first step in order for you to start this process, it's hard. It is not easy. So if you're thinking like, I saw on Facebook or Instagram this beautiful post with a quote on it that was about inner healing, and now I'm ready to start my journey. No, sorry. Like, it's not glamorous. It's not pretty. It's actually can be pretty ugly, to be honest. And so I just want you to know that when you are ready to start that journey, it's going to be hard and it's a lifelong journey. It's never going to end. And I know that sounds bleak, but it's actually wonderful, because you learn so much about yourself. And if you are alone and you don't have that support, I am always here to talk to whoever needs to talk about whatever, or even if you just want to hit me up on Instagram. By the way, it's wistfulwounds.gem, which is Jem, and talk about it or talk about the weather, or whatever. If you're lonely and you're struggling and you need somebody to talk to, I'm not a therapist, but I will listen. So,
That's beautiful. You know what I love is you're the very first person that set expectations with the healing journey. Like, it's not going to be easy, man. I'm just going to be honest with you, but I'm here. And I love that you did that because it is not easy, but it is worth it. It is
mhm,
very much worth it because on my shitty days, I didn't get out of bed. I didn't.
right.
But now healing looks like being able to get up and still function on the shitty days,
Hmm.
even when you're not at 100%. So I love that you said that you gave an expectation not to, because we sit here and hi, I'm empowered and I'm healed, and then the next day we're crying, and then there's a
Right.
person that's seen this who doesn't feel like they're going to ever make it, because I saw PJ and I saw Jim and they were just beautiful. They were healed, and I messed up, and now I'm having a shitty day, and they don't understand that those shitty days are a part of the healing. So I love
Right.
that you made it a reality. So, and I do have your website. It is in the descriptions, you guys. If anybody want to reach out to Jim, please. But what I will need once we get off of here, if you give me all of the links to your socials, I can add that into the description. So if anyone wants to follow her on Instagram, on Facebook, on any of her socials, definitely jump on. My camera is not acting right. I know you guys see it, but hey, she's like I said, we talk every single day like we're best friends. We really do. She's
Yeah.
not lying. She will respond. She will see how she can help you. She is 100% authentically who she says she is. And I thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Yeah.
I can't wait to work with. I cannot wait to. She's one of the speakers on my upcoming summit, so I'm excited.
Oh my God, I'm so
I
excited
cannot wait.
about that. So,
So definitely, you guys keep her and you subscribe to her channel, subscribe to her blogs, whatever you. She's the real. So thank you so much, Jim, for coming out and being
yeah,
my
thank
last minute guest. And I think you agreed to this on Monday.
you. Right. Yeah. Well,
So
you made it easy. You made it real easy. So that was good.
hey, when I think that's inspirational and uplifting, I get them on. So I felt like you were worth the. And again, anything I'm doing, I'm gonna say, hey Jim, you want to jump on this with me? So be ready for a lot of those.
All right. Well, thank
So
you again for having
well,
me.
thank you so much. I will be. Well, I'm sure we're gonna speak again real soon,
Yep.
and I look forward to our sessions.
All right. Take it easy. Bye.
You too. Bye. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. So, before I close out, you guys know I always want to make sure that anyone who needs help has access to real time, access to support in real time. So if you or anyone else is experiencing any mental health issues, any mental health crisis, that's what I need to say. Please, excuse me, don't hesitate to call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It is 988. Call or text 988, or you could chat online at 988lifeline.org. It's available 24/7 for anyone who's in emotional distress, having suicidal thoughts, or mental health crisis issues. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I've called that number once or twice, and they actually did help out a lot. They sat on that phone with me. They helped me come up with a crisis plan. They actually even went and found me help in my actual area that was able to help me with what I see someone. I think I ended up meeting up with a therapist because of them. So again, 988. And in the National Alliance on Mental Health, NAMI, NAMI, that's what my granddaughter calls me, her NAMI. But you can call 1-800-950-NAMI, NAMI, or 1-800-950-6264. That's or you can go online at NAMI.org/help, NAMI.org/help, and they offer guidance, support groups, and education for individuals and families. So please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out to them if you need any type of help. I would like to thank you so much, Ms. Jem, for sharing your story with us today. Your courage and your honesty and resilience is nothing less than inspiring. They remind us that transformation is possible, no matter how deep the struggle. To everyone listening right now, I want to thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself, witness stories that may reflect your own journey. Healing starts with community, and by listening today, you're a part of that community. So if you found this value in this episode or any of my episodes, please make sure that you share, like, subscribe, so that you don't miss any of these stories and the insights that continue to build this place of resilience and growth. Every share helps. Every share helps. So share this episode. Share this with someone who you know might resonate with this. Reach out to someone who might need to hear this message today. Someone who might finally feel seen, who need to feel seen, heard, understood, or supported. And for those of you who feel called to keep this movement going, there's so many ways that you can get involved. You can share this work. You can share in this work. Beyond this podcast, you heard me say I offer virtual summits. I have webinars that are free to the public. I have a magazine coming up, Resilient AF. It's launching in December. And in 2026, I'll be hosting, in July of 2026, I'll be hosting a transformative retreat in Costa Rica called Speak, Heal, Lead, and is designed to nurture healing, growth, and community connection. So it doesn't just start with this podcast. And your support not only keeps these opportunities available, it helps to provide resources for those who might not otherwise have access to it. This is about community. Many people that they thought was broken, this is a community that is not. This is a community that is thriving. But that really just needs a little bit of support. We just need a little support, a little guidance, and a reminder that they are not alone. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself and for others. And thank you so much for being here and keeping this community growing. So if you feel this is the worst part for me. If you feel the need, and if you are able to, please don't hesitate to share, sponsor, donate any way you can. There's a link to donate in the description. And I believe my website is in there, so you can see all of the things that I just said. Again, thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much for healing. Thank you so much for keeping this community where resilience and hope is possible for everyone to hear. Remember this and carry it with you. Please, please, please. Your story does not end in pain. It begins in power. You guys know I'm going to say that every week. Keep your head up. Keep your heart open. And never stop fighting to heal and live free. Thank you so much for tuning in to Insights of a Survivor. I will see you next week.
Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like,